we are introducing you into Qlik, giving you instructions. And of course, every day it will be the practical part also with some tasks to master Qlik Cloud. And by the end of these 12 days, you will be able with this learning course to create your first own dashboards in Qlik Sense and understand, of course, the basics and gain some useful links to dig deeper. We will also have 3 sessions which will be made weekly with some expert to show you just how it's done in Qlik Sense, work out the practical part, and also answer your questions. And it will be also a community in Telegram, so that it will be easier to connect with the experts and ask your questions anytime. So here is the program. It's also indicated on the landing, so you will dig deeper into it. So the first week, that's getting to know Qlik, how the data is loaded, why Qlik associative engine helps you, and we'll wrap up with Ulvi Aliyev, who is working for 12 years with Qlik technologies and have lived in Azerbaijan, Slovakia, and Switzerland, and still working for Artsem worldwide right now. He will be sharing his expertise and walking through all the 5 days. The next week will be developing of the visual part of starting to develop the dashboard, and we will have wrap up with Smart Solutions team who will go through all the process with the participants. And the last day, there will be a final webinar with some local experts from a local market with panel discussion and so on. So I'm really encouraging you to join right now, to register at Dataroad.az, not to miss the start of the marathon. And also, just as a quick notice for all who are in Azerbaijan, in fact, in terms of our marathon, we'll be talking quite several times about embedded analytics, and we have a special day dedicated to embedded analytics and the scenarios, how you can monetize data through it. And we also have our embedded analytics solution architect based in Baku right now. He's Simon Astahov. You see his contacts with any question, with some POC ideas. If you want to discuss Qlik Sense, please feel free to write or call to Simon. He will be happy to help and discuss Qlik with you. Thanks a lot for your time. Thanks a lot, Ilgar, for making me present the marathon. Hope you join us and enjoy dipping deeper in Qlik Sense technologies.
Thank you very much, Marina, for your information. I found it very useful, and in my turn also, as I mentioned earlier, some people from my working place, they are interested in this marathon, and I hope everyone who is just going to join to this marathon is going to take benefit of it. So now I would like to deliver a stage to our lovely speaker, whose name is Artsem Zharkou. I hope I pronounced name and surname correctly. So the stage is yours, Artsem. Here you are.
Okay, thank you, Ilgar. I start demonstrating. Before starting, do you hear me well?
I hear you well, and I see your screen.
My screen, okay.
Hello.
Thank you, thank you. Do you see my screen, yeah?
Yes.
Oh, okay. So thank you, Ilgar. Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining. I hope this webinar will be informative and useful for you. I guess you have met comparative reviews like Power BI vs Qlik Sense with general info. Today, I want to represent some specific details and features regarding the comparison of these two platforms. The objective is to provide the understanding why, despite total Microsoft dominating, Qlik Sense stays the favorite tool for many business analysts. Okay, next page. My name is Artem. I work for RBC Group as a senior developer on Power BI and Qlik. In present, I mostly work on projects at Power BI, and also I currently represent the RBC Group in Azerbaijan and heading local office here in the city of Baku. Few words about RBC Group. Our company comes from Ukraine. We provide services in data management and data integration. We have solutions delivery offices in several countries, a lot of partners and satisfied customers. We are the elite solution provider and certified partner of Qlik. Our main advantages: we propose a large set of ready-made BI solutions. We call them Prebuilt solutions in Qlik, first of all. And the most important, our main value is a team of highly qualified and experienced developers. I've got a few slides about RBC Group. I will not stay on them for long. This presentation will be available, I think, to take away. So here what we do, and here how we do this. And the slide is about our main tools: Qlik Sense, Power BI, Python, Qlik data integration tools, platform, and third-party tools, as well as our own extensions for Qlik. These are our trainings we provide for organizations. And okay, the agenda. May I switch off my camera? Okay. So we will observe the Power BI and Qlik Sense from the perspective of professional developer and perspective of user analyst. I'd like to focus on the platform's differences in the following domains, which I personally consider as most important and interesting for developer and user. For comparison, we will use Power BI and Qlik Sense desktops in basic distributed packages without third-party extensions and other tools applied. That is what is out of today's agenda. All this stuff is important as well, especially when it comes to select which platform to use. But diving into details requires a large amount of time, so 1 hour or less is definitely not enough for everything. So let's get started from what I planned, okay? And we start from data ETL processes. Both platforms provide us a set of tools for extracting data from initial data sources and for performing the ETL. Built-in connectors. Power BI provides a long list of built-in connectors to data sources, as you can see here on the screen. As for Qlik, this list looks shorter, but a lot of connectors are available through the administrative tools. At the right hand, a list of web connectors, for example. For transforming data, we as professional developers, in Power BI, we use Power Query editor, and in Qlik, we use the load script. So let's compare these tools. In Power BI, in a Power Query, we have an intuitive interface like buttons on ribbon and advanced M language. In practice, we should use M language more or less, but we should use it. M language is the first part of the story, right? But after we pull data into tables and data model, we need to create other entities like measures and columns, and we have to use a completely different DAX language. So, okay, we have to learn 2 languages. Qlik has a load script editor, and we use a special language here for scripting. At the right hand, you can see the screenshot. Minimum buttons, so you can see just scripting. What is important to emphasize here, that the syntax of Qlik language is the same for the load script and for measure expressions. So I think the advantage, we should learn only 1 language. Let's see what we can do with this tools. One of the most interesting for me features of Power Query that we can easily cleanse the data and improve the quality of data set, because we evaluate results of our transformations visually and with these built-in tools like column, quality, and etc. In Qlik, there is no such built-in functionality in load script. It is in Data Manager, but not in load script. In Qlik, in most cases, we do transformations just with scripting. So let's say the winner here is our query, okay? However, when we need to join tables, the picture in Power Query does not look so attractive for me. There are two options here: merge, append. They work well. What the problem is, I think, when we perform complex transformations, we often should use an intermediate tables, for example, for mapping, for conveying one column from one table to another, groupings or whatever. And on the large data sets, Power Query performs quite slow. In Qlik, we transform tables in script. We create dozens of tables to use and drop them whenever to free the memory. We can run loops and procedures inside which we also perform joins and unions of any type. And moreover, we can save any table from the load script to a file with the store command. The most important format type here for file is QVD, special Qlik format. So for me, it's extremely convenient. In addition, in Qlik load script, we can declare variables and set values to them. And variables will be available to use in the application, in measures, for example. This is an amazing opportunity. Some of the benefits I'll show later. There is something similar in Power Query, the parameters of different types. The parameter can also be used later in a report or managed even in the cloud servers. But in fact, the flexibility of Power BI parameters is not the same as Qlik variables. Here I show some unique features, but let me skip this slide to save time, okay? So the next topic is about the data storages after completion of ETL. Power BI report creates a data set in the service when published. Also, the data flows in the service create data sets that can be used as sources for the reports. And we can operate with data marts in the service as well. However, as a Power BI developer, I always want to understand where is my data stored. And sometimes these storages are out of my control. Unlike Power BI, in Qlik, we create, obviously, it's our own encapsulated data storage. Yeah? This is a set of tables saved from the load script in special QVD format, as I mentioned before. And within the load script, we can later upload these QVD tables whenever it needs. And it works extremely fast because of the Qlik optimized load for this QVD format. The storage structure may look like this at the right corner. Yeah. Ordinary folders. So it's very flexible and comfortable to use. ETL layers, it's interesting thing. It's a kind of layering data sets, which allows us to reuse them. This is the main objective. Also, multi-layer ETL optimizes changes support. In Power BI, we create temporary tables in Power Query without loading them into models. It's a kind of layer. For layering, we can also use data flows and create intermediate data sets in service. from my experience, temporary tables in Power Query slow down the ETL sometimes. And in this case, we have to perform intermediate operations upper in SQL Server, for instance. So I recommend to use data flows in service for layering. Qlik allows us to create as many layers as we want. We create separate applications, apps, for layering. These apps run on schedule or, what is super cool, on an event trigger. A common approach is to use 3 or 4 layers. Creator application, we pull raw data from initial sources, make some minor joins, rename fields, for instance, for better understanding later, and then we store results in QED. Then transformer application. We load QEDs from previous stage and make all major transformations. Then we store QED into other folders. Model application, the optional one. We load QEDs from previous stage again to create the data model associations. And final application for end users, we load QEDs from previous stage, enrich data model if necessary, and then create all necessary visual stuff. Incremental refresh. That's very interesting to compare. Power BI has a powerful built-in refresh feature. In Power Query, we specify a range of dates to pull a piece of fresh data, while the historical data is loaded only once. This is also possible to capture only changed data, right? But sometimes we've got 2 very serious challenges. First of them, if the historical data has changed in the source in one of closed periods, how to capture this event, we should think about it. And the second, in Power BI, the current system date is a base point to look from it to the past. I mean, in the incremental refresh technique. And the complication occurs when we have a shift in dates in data sources, shift in the future, like plus 2000 years, what is often used in 1S accounting system, widespread in the CIS countries. There are several workarounds. All of them need lots of efforts. Qlik, in its turn, does not have a built-in mechanism for incremental load. We create a loop in the load script and make partitions on monthly or any other basis. We save these periodical parts of data as sequential files using variable for each pass in loop. When it needs, we simply recalculate any of historical periods. They are just QED files to be replaced. And we easily shift the original date by adding or subtracting what is needed, like this 2000 years. Okay. Data modeling. Both platforms support complex modeling schemas with multiple fact tables. Such schemas are easier to design in Power BI than in Qlik. This is a picture of one of my report that I created. It contains from multiple fact tables, 7 tables, okay? In Power BI, we feel free and create such models manually, establishing relationships between tables. We connect the columns we need and determine the direction of filtering. Thus, we avoid circular references and decrease ambiguity in visuals. The complication is that the more fact tables we've got, the more relationships we must control and measure, because we lose the capability of usage the bidirectional links. In contrary, in Qlik, tables are linked by association. Let's say if the columns in 2 tables have the same names, then relationship is created automatically, and we don't establish any filtering directions here. They are all directional, always. In Qlik, we prefer not to build schemas with many fact tables without necessity. We simplify everything to a star schema or snowflake schema, and denormalized tables. As a matter of fact, Qlik is more demanding on the qualification of a data architect because we cannot change anything like in Power BI, just transforming in script. Here is the sample of RBC sales analysis Prebuilt solution. At the left side, you can see the snowflake, I can say, schema for data set. At the right side, the auxiliary tables for translation, for selections, and so on. As for me, I try using the approach from Qlik while developing in Power BI 2. The sample of transformation is depicted here, the same report as I mentioned before and as shown before, and data sources. And here we managed to combine 9 fact tables into one. It works fast, I think. And the main benefit of this schema, it's easy to support for the future. Okay. Here are the things we face with modeling data. Okay. In Power BI, we must choose or accept the proposed relationship type. In Qlik, first of all, we have to understand the data in loaded tables in order to associate tables properly. It is a sophisticated data architect work. Modeling best practices do not recommend to use bidirectional relationships in Power BI. Bidirectional relationships allow us to perform native cross-filtering on diagram and slicers. Filter propagates to both directions between related tables in data model, but in many cases it also entails ambiguity. In turn, with single directional relationships, filter propagates to only one direction, and in cases when we need to change this behavior, we should write more complex stacks code. In Qlik, relationships are always bidirectional, but it requires more coding in load script in order to create a valid data model. When creating relationships, we face such cases as circular references, weak or negative relationships, and so on. There are several approaches for overcoming possible issues, but the main idea is to thoroughly transform tables. From my experience, it's easier to make table transformation in Qlik load script. For Power BI, it is also possible to create calculated tables using DAX and then relate columns and so on. But this approach increases the model size. Also, we can move these transformations from Power Query up to SQL Server, for instance. And of course, we can set relationships as single direction. It may help. My point that Qlik is more productive and convenient in such cases. Synthetic keys. This is a feature of Qlik associative engine. Qlik creates synthetic keys when 2 or more tables have 2 or more fields in common with the same names. These keys are anonymous fields that represent all possible combinations of the table keys. There are several ways to resolve this issue, like renaming fields, creating composite keys in both tables, denormalizing tables, or even doing nothing with this. Several calculated expressions. In Power BI, we create expressions to evaluate measures, tables, and calculated columns. All of these entities become parts of a data model. In Qlik, we create all necessary tables and columns in load script only. In Qlik, most often we create measure within a diagram. Also, we create reusable master measures, and the one important entity, the calculated dimensions. This slide is most about the programming languages that we use in visuals. What I love in DAX language is that all measures are accessible from other measures. It's also very handy to work with variables inside a measure expression. and the functionality of DAX is quite large. Qlik uses one language for ETL and expressions that I mentioned before. The measure formula is a completed line of code that includes a set of functions and operators. But we can't declare a variable right here. In contrary, we can use an application level variable that we set earlier by loading or with a special tool. And then we can call them in the calculated expression, like here. What the reason? Qlik has an amazing ability to put a string expression, for example, a sum formula, into a variable, like a string, and then to call this variable in the right place. The string expression is converted into a calculated formula and evaluates in this place. That's a very interesting feature. As I said, in Qlik we add columns in the loading script. As for calculated dimensions, it does not like a field in the data model, but a formula only. The main benefit of the calculated dimension is that we can dynamically replace the field dimension in chart with formula depending on the user's selections. When we substitute a field with variable, which contains a formula, Qlik picks up the result of the calculation and creates association in the data model on the fly. The similar but not the same ability to dynamically replace dimensions and measures in chart has appeared in Power BI quite recently. I mean, fields parameter. Context modifier. To change the filter context in DAX, we use the filter function or several extra conditions within the functions of calculate type. To modify the calculation context in Qlik, we use quite a similar approach. This is a set analysis tool. Of course, the syntax is completely different, but the principle is the same, to change the context. From my point of view as a practitioner, the DAX is more straightforward, clean and concise than set analysis syntax. Let's skip this as well. Okay, some unique Qlik functions. One of them is dual. I haven't met anything like this in DAX for Power BI. Dual combines a number and the string into a single record. The number is used for sorting and calculation, while the string value is used for display. For example, the dimension value month might be shown as its name on a chart, but at the same time be interpreted as its number in the calculation. Some other functions also at the right side of this slide. Okay, visuals. In this module, I'd like to highlight some of Qlik interactive features, which behavior are difficult to repeat in Power BI. Let's have a look at how the end user interacts with all this stuff. When user clicks on this or that element in Qlik, the Qlik engine generates ad hoc filters and places them in the selection bar on the top of the page. User can interact with these slicers. They are available at all sheets and affect all visuals. There are different types of values in selection. They have different background colors depending on type, like green, gray, white, dark gray. As a result of the selection, Qlik creates a current context for entire application. We use page properties and set analysis to modify context and behavior. Unlike Power BI and Qlik, diagrams are always filtered. There's no highlight mode, and we can't explicitly edit the interactions between two diagrams. So in Qlik, we can highlight or filter and select this behavior. In Power BI, we can't create ad hoc slicers while interacting with chart. Only standard slicers and elements on filter panel can be synchronized, and each on selected pages. At the left side, we see the sample of a filter pane To obtain the similar behavior, like in Qlik, we should place the same slicers on each page of Power BI report. Another issue, how to see the current selections. Hovering the mouse over the funnel icon is inconvenient for my taste. Selections are not clickable. We can display selections list in a table, for instance, like here, but it's just a measure returning concatenated string, not clickable again. You may say drill through. Okay, drill through. Option Power BI, it works. We select one data point on chart and drill through to the target page. But if the several data points have been selected, then we need to invent some tricks. Here is a sample with aggregated amount in cart. Select items in chart and then drill through from cart. Interesting trick. Okay, I think there is nothing easier to come up with than table visual. However, we've got some features here as well. In table visual and Qlik, user can easily make selections in dimension columns, like here, right in the table, and replace dimensions in columns and rows in the pivot table. And concerning developing in Qlik simple tables, we can refer to a table column and measures expressions like column 1 plus column 2, and choose type of total calculations from auto, average, sum, and some others aggregations. In Power BI, we adjust totals behavior in tables and matrices using DAX coding. Top N plus others. There are dozens of publications about this story in Power BI. In general, you need to create an extra dimension table where you need to add others value as the element, and then it's time for DAX coding. And you should do like this for each of the dimension in your data model to get top N and other split for them. That's so cumbersome. In contrary, the top N plus others tool is natively built into Qlik, and it is amazingly customizable. As for Power BI, we can use the fields parameter to control measures or dimensions used in visual dynamically. We put this parameter into the field box in a built visual panel instead of the table field or measure. Powerful and useful feature. But in Qlik, there is a built-in diagram feature, alternative dimensions and measures, and works without coding. Too many data points. Okay, I'll show a demo. Let's skip this. And cross it go through as well. The interesting feature of Qlik, the alternate states, is the ability in Qlik to compare anything with anything in one visual. It sounds a bit weird. Alternate states allow us to make different selections on the same dimension and compare the selections in a single visualization or in 2 or more visualizations side by side. Obtaining the same behavior in Power BI, if possible, I think is extremely cumbersome. I personally tried, but gave up. So we should conclude the theory. Several words about RBC Group Prebuilt solutions. As I mentioned, our company offers Prebuilt solutions, which are the fully functional templates for different areas of business. And you can see several start pages on this slide, our Qlik Sense Prebuilt applications. The main benefits of using templates are unification, standardization, the same understanding, time and cost saving, and so on and so forth. A year ago, we decided to implement the same approach into Power BI and replicate our Qlik applications into Power BI. It's an interesting use case, I guess. And now I'd like to demonstrate some outcomes and mentioned default platforms differences. Okay. So we start the demo. So maybe a question occurs.
You may go on, Artyom.
Mm-hmm.
We'll ask some questions at the end of the session.
Oh, okay,
so
super.
Go on with your demonstration.
Okay. Well, to hide this, how to hide this pane. Okay. This is a pre-built sales analysis application in Qlik, which we implement most often, and its replica in Power BI. Here we have loaded a demo dataset, the same for both platforms. So let's do some experiments. For Qlik, open analysis page, select year. Here we can select the dimensions, say product category or product group, product line, whatever. But let's select audio as a group. You can see the slices here, they automatically created. We can add or cancel some elements here. But what's interesting now, as the product group is selected, we can change the dimension. Let's take a manufacturer. And what? We can see that we the changes in table on diagram, okay? And let's select these, not that, and see the manufacturers here. We can cancel or step back. We can manipulate with visualization or deselect and whatever. So, for instance, we're interested to see the transactions for these selections. So maybe we can select here and go to page transactions. So we see the transactions for these selections, the complex selection. We can manipulate with this table, like select product or client, one or many. And as you can notice, all these selections we can find each and every page of the application. What's interesting to show, we can clear everything. We can step back. So very useful and flexible manipulations here. What I'd like to show you as well, for example, in transaction table, transactions. I'd like to show these substitutions of data. So for columns, we do not have a field from database from initial the table. We see the formula here, which substitute the variable for dimension, and for instance for measure like post, we see the variable and the calculation. Okay. And what I'd like to show, the rating page. Rating page, for instance, very interesting for 2016, for June, July, June. And we can select top N, like top 5, and select them by press the button. And as well, we've got the selection here. So we can explore the interesting information about these products. Okay. Let's try to do the same with the Power BI. Okay. Power BI is this particular template is not translated to English. Sorry, but I will explain what is written here. So we can select, for instance, product groups. And select audio. You see how the pie chart highlighted. Okay, so audio is selected. Then let's go to, for instance, reading page. Where am I? Rankings right here. And what we see. We don't see the audio. We see Canon marked, so it's photo camera, so TV sets, and so the selection in table does not create the slicer or tail. And when we return to this page, we see that selection cancelled. So what we can do, we can activate the hidden panel of slicers and select here audio. Okay. Okay. Now we select audio, and in the ratings, we see changes. Yes. LG. That's interesting that if we place these selections on each page, or not each, but selected pages, wherever we need, we can operate with these selections. And this trick helps us to implement this selection, multiple selection for necessary pages. I can demonstrate this on page selections. So we can see the selections translated here. Because filters, the slicers, are synchronized automatically. Okay. We can deselect everything. What I'm going to show is the trick with drill through. Having something goes wrong. Okay, my computer is big, so maybe I'll show this in the cloud. Okay. Maintenance. If I intend to drill through for one data point, I see the transaction, the target page is transaction page, so it sent me to this target page, okay? But if I'd like to interest in this and that element, there's no drill through option here. So this trick with cards can help. So I can get the transactions for these selections. What's interesting I'd like to show is help, users help. In Qlik Sense, we can create an interactive help for user. For instance, if we press this sign, we can see the help with description, but as well, we see the clickable diagram, clickable charts, whatever, and we can operate with them, and the selections selection conveys here. In Power BI, the help, yes, we created the help, but it just a text, so a hidden page that we show to user how to do, what to do, how to manipulate, but not so interactive. We could place anything in help page, but it's, I think, not too useful. Another thing I'd like to show, for instance, the ABC analysis. Sometimes it's a very requested feature from business analysts. In Power BI, you see, in Qlik Sense, we can select, make different selections. We can select like, for instance, products, sales or margin, like a measure, granularity, and July, okay. Okay, sure. That's interesting that we have indexes for A group, B, and C, like A1, A2, A3. Also, we have a button that we can select only A, and we see the recalculation in the table, so A, B. And thus, we can drill down to the selections, through the selections, and also we can manipulate with these slicers, okay? And Power BI, yes, we also realized ABC XYZ. It is not the final solution, so the version is not fresh of this template, but you can see that it's quite difficult to realize the additional indexes. No indexes so far, but they are in the new versions. But it works quite slow in Power BI. But no, maybe in cloud it works not bad in the small data set. And what I'm gonna show, the multi-language feature. That's an interesting feature. It's we realize in our Qlik solutions. So I think that the real multi-language means that a user can switch language for displaying titles, labels, tooltips, help, text, labels of dimensions and measures and whatever. So you can see that now is English language selection. You can see the help in English. But now if we select Russian language, we see the text changes, but as well, we can see that all labels are changed, and dimensions, labels for dimensions and measures has been changed. That's interesting, and it's possible because of this ability to substitute a formula or variable into the field. So we substitute the selected language name. Right here it is written Ruski, Russian, okay, and we see in Russian. Unfortunately, I can't demonstrate this in Power BI because this version without translation, but the implementation is much more complicated for Power BI. Actually, there are several approaches, and I left the links in presentation, okay? What's for Power BI? There are some very interesting visual elements in Power BI that have no direct analogous in Qlik Sense. The composition tree. We can visualize data across multiple dimensions. It aggregates data and enables drilling down into dimensions in any order. This is an artificial intelligent visualization. So we can ask the engine to find the next dimensions to drill down into based on certain criteria. This tool is valuable for ad hoc exploration and conducting root cause analysis. And one more feature is key influencers. This visual helps to analyze data, ranking the factors and displaying them as key influencers. We can understand which factors affect the metrics being analyzed, estimate the importance of these factors. But based on the result, I could say that this visual is not easy to interpret and requires users trading. So now I am about to finish, and maybe this concludes my presentation. So Ilgar, what about questions?
Okay. So thank you very much, Artyom. Thank you very much, really, for your wonderful session. I appreciate it. Taking it an opportunity, I would like to tell all the attendees one thing. We are not here to tell you that which program is, better or worse. These two business intelligence tools are leaders of the market. Artyom just demonstrate what is better or worse, just comparing some features of these both programs. So please accept it from this point of view. Okay, thank you once again, Artyom. Actually, everybody who is attending this webinar can turn on his or her cameras and can ask his question. While you are going to ask your question, I would like to ask some question myself to Artyom. Artyom, I'm dealing with Power BI for a long period of time, but I have some difficulties. Even Power BI people tell that if you are not good at data modeling, many-to-many relationship, please don't use it. Even this many-to-many relationship is harder at this level. But when I was attending the summit in Baku organized by Qlik, one of your colleagues demonstrated, and I found it very easy. So what would you tell about this data modeling and specifically many-to-many relationship, which Power BI has? I hope I explained whatever I want to tell you.
Okay. As for Power BI, I'd like to show my screen again and demonstrate this picture. Yes, Power BI helps us to establish many-to-many relations, but the combination of keys from one side and from another side may create a very huge amount of data. So usually I, in my practice, use the tables like bridge tables. So if you can see here, so we have table, dimensional table for market references. There are a lot of markets, and there are a lot of sales, so many to many. So I prefer to establish the one to many, so create these bridge tables. As for Qlik, yes, it's a question of data architect. You always should think about what data you load, and create solutions how to exclude this some issues. Yeah, I think like this. If I ask your question, answer your question. Sorry.
Okay, I was muted. Sorry for this. One more question. Actually, I have two more questions. One question is about automation. I mean, is there an opportunity? I mean, is it possible to automate? I mean, is there an integration opportunity among, I mean, between Qlik and any other automation tool, like Power Automate or Zapier, so on and so forth? Is it possible? For example, what I'm just trying to tell you, when you are doing some dashboard on Power BI, it's possible to integrate this dashboard with Power Automate, and automatically everything, I mean, process is automated. I mean, just is sent, or if anything, I mean, changes in data source, it automatically changes also in Power BI dashboard. So is it possible in Qlik or not?
Oh, okay, thank you. What I'd like to say that in Qlik, we create the applications for particular use cases or particular customer, and depending on the requirements, we organize the environment. For instance, we deploy the Qlik server, or we deploy in cloud, and the automation to data sources and to pull data from sources, yes, it is present, and we can manipulate and administer these things. But also, the Qlik provides the data integration platform tools. It's like not a Qlik Sense, but a Qlik platform tools, which provide a lot of interesting tools how to get data from sources, replicate them, compose them, and so on and so forth. What about the integration with Microsoft tools? I have no such experience personally. So, like this.
Okay. I don't remember. Maybe you have mentioned during your presentation. I strongly believe that any user can organize his or her presentation for mobile device view. Is it possible in Qlik also, or not? For example, in Power BI, we can organize our dashboards and reports for mobile view. Is it possible for Qlik?
It depends. We can how to say, we can propose to a client, a customer, to to install the mobile client on the mobile device, and connect to the server, to Qlik server, to Qlik cloud for that particular report, and operate with this. For sure, sometimes we have to change the the diagrams on canvas, so rearrange them in order for better usage on mobile device, but the application stays the same. In Power BI, yes, in Power BI we can do something in Power BI desktop, so we create a mobile view, rearrange diagrams, and then provide these reports like a mobile solution. And as well, we can create application in service. We can and we can provide the client, the user, the connection, the ability to connect to these cloud services, to application, or for this dashboard of Power BI. So the mechanism are differ.
Okay, last but not least, I would like to ask one more question. While importing data from different data sources in Power BI, you have several methods like import mode, storage mode. I'm talking about storage modes, or live, and also direct. Direct mode, if I'm not mistaken, yes, 3 modes. So what I would like to ask with this, or clarify, for example, when you are connected directly to the data source, and it means that you are lively getting all the data. So I kindly ask you to talk about this. And also there is one, if I'm not mistaken, in import mode in Power BI, when you are getting data, all this data just is stored in your say server, and it takes much more space. So be so kind as to talk a little bit about also these storage modes in Qlik.
Okay, there are several questions in your question, so let's split. First of all, in Qlik we use import mode, and there is another mode like direct discovery. It is similar to this direct query in Power BI. What about the storage? Sometimes it is very important for client to control the storage, where the data is stored, and we organize on-prem solution, on-prem deployment, and we install Qlik Sense server on premises, on machine or virtual machine of client, and store data on its disks. Okay, so another solution is the cloud services of Qlik, like cloud business, Qlik Business, and Qlik SaaS, enterprise SaaS, and all this infrastructure we can move to the cloud. And there are another option is we can create gateway. It's similar to Microsoft Gateway, but the Qlik tool. So we can ask from the cloud the data from on-prem storages, okay, like this.